So, I was laying in my bed, and this happened earlier. I was out with a dinner with my dad, and I saw like a orange flash, and I thought maybe my brain was stroking off. And I saw another orange flash, and then I had a flashback to when I was at Taco Mac in Georgia, and I ordered a drink called the Grateful Dead. It's kind of like a purple drink. Uh, it's like basically a purple Long Island, I think. It's probably not significant to what I'm going to be talking about. But this had to have happened in 93 or 94 because I was a small child. Um, Earlier in my videos, I said that I got abducted by Buddhists driving a hippie van, and then I said that never happened, and then I thought it happened. I think the real memory is coming back because when I was a kid, there was this rust colored van that had an orange sun on the side of it. And I used to draw that, believe it or not. I have old journals when I was in elementary school of this sun I used to draw. I used to be pretty obsessed with it. I don't know why I used to draw it, but I did. There was a day I was playing outside, and that orange rust colored van was parked at the end of the street, and there was like a girl, a chubby girl. She looked like my friend Zach from high school, which is gross because he doesn't look like a woman. But she looked like, I think she was like non-gender binary or something. I don't know. And she was parked in front of this our next door neighbor's John's house, and they had the van door open. I was playing in my front yard, and they kept calling my name, and then they candied me. They said that they had candy if I came over there, and my mother told me to stay away from them. So I stayed away from them, and then one of them came over and started asking me a bunch of questions. And then they abducted me. And they gave me some type of LSD during this abduction. And they were trying to hold me down in the van, and I started screaming. I wanted my mom, and I was crying, and I wanted to go home. And the girl, whoever she was, the one that was like responsible for holding me down, they were basically like, just do it, just fucking do it. And I don't know what this was exactly, what was going on, because I was high on LSD when they abducted me. I assume it was LSD. It could have been anything. And then in the middle of them doing whatever, I told them in a past life I was a World War II fighter pilot, and I knew some guy. And I was like deadpan when I said this. I have no. Well, I was a weird little kid. I used to say crazy shit like that all the time. But I just said that. And then the dude that was driving the van pulled over and like hit the brakes hard. And some guy was like, they don't let little kids in the Air Force. He's not in the Air Force. And then the dude said, like, he basically was like, shut up, shut up, shut up. What did he say? And they're like, he's high on LSD or whatever. He's under hypnosis. And I repeated that I was a World War II fighter pilot. And then the guy said, list your badge and rank or whatever. And as a kid, I literally gave him a badge and rank while these guys had me high on LSD. So they drove me down the road. And this is a weird thing. This event's super bizarre because we ended up at some house and some guy refused to take me. And it was getting late, and I kept telling the kids to just take me home, and they were refusing to take me home. And then the girl told him, like, we gotta do him right here or some shit. And I was like wandering in circles with my hands in the air, and the guy was telling her to give me the moon because I guess you get high on the sun and then they give you the moon. What I think, this is my theory because I ended up stumbling upon this about a week ago. Orange Sunshine LSD. It was created by some group in the '60s, and they were groupies for the Grateful Dead. So these people might have been part of the Grateful Dead, but I'm not 100% on that because They could have been groupies for the Grateful Dead, which is why I mentioned the drink earlier. My brain was putting this together out of scraps of data, and the dude literally like got pissed, snatched my ass up, told me I wasn't a World War II fighter pilot. I didn't know his father. Um, I didn't know what I was talking about. Uh, that I had made it all up, and I was gonna confess I had lied, and I just stood there staring at him. And I said to him, I'm an energy vampire. I don't know, once again, I was a little kid high on drugs. And he said, what? And I said, I'm an energy vampire. Uh, and he said something to me, and then they got really fixated on like past life hypnosis. Uh, and then this dude straight up like, uh, what did he say? Because I told him whatever thing he wants done, like I could steal his energy, I could take his energy, manifest it, turn it into myself, and then become kind of like Deity Link in Majora's Mask, become a culmination of energies that could stop whatever thing he wanted destroyed. I could destroy it. I have no idea why I said that. I was a little kid. I was like 4 or 5, but I'm assuming I was terrified, and I probably would have said anything to get away from these people. Um, I kept wanting to run away, but then I would just come back and do whatever these people wanted. Um, so he grabbed me, he holds me down in the van, he starts saying something, and then he literally tells me to stay the fuck away from this church. Stay the fuck away from this church. Don't ever go near this church. The same people I ended up reporting years and years later. That, like, he was like, you'll never be safe. And I told him, like, because I guess I was in the news or something. There's, like, a missing kids report. Like, my mom may have filed it. So it might have been two days had gone by. But, like, this is the thing. This church is super powerful. So them destroying some kind of document that stated I went missing as a kid, or I wasn't missing long enough, I don't know. I told them if they took me back to my mom, I would tell her simply, I got in the van with you guys, and you guys like drove off. And I was holding on to the back of the driver's seat, and I was like refusing to let it go, and they were pulling on me and trying to get me to let go of the driver's seat, and I was screaming and crying. Uh, and I was telling them, if you take me back to my mom will pay you guys money. My mom will pay you guys money. And then the girl was like, that sounds like a good deal. Like, they're like, this plan is bust. This kid is a dud. And she said I looked too much like her little brother for this guy to kill. Um, I think. I don't know. I was high on drugs. And they took me back to my house, and my mom was really, really mad at me. And the the girl or whatever, she was like, "Take care of your family." And I was like, "How the heck am I supposed to do that? I'm a little kid." Like I literally did that like all the time when I was a kid. My mom once asked me if I wanted to back the Oldsmobile. We had a gold Oldsmobile when I was a kid, and she asked me if I wanted to back it into the driveway. And I was like, how am I going to do that? I'm a little kid. My legs are too short. And she put me in her lap, and then I got to work the steering wheel. I would do that so many times, so much when I was a kid. You wouldn't believe it. And she called me a name, some other name. I don't know what name they gave me when I was high on LSD, but they called me that guy. And when I was leaving, the dude in the van was like, remember what you said? You promised to destroy the church. And then they slammed the door shut on the van and drove off. And I remember years later, I used to see that van down near a child daycare. I used to see it parked down there. There was a black and red one with bubble windows, like from like the 70s. And then there was that van that was also like a 70s model that used to roll around Florida. That one was really beat up though. Uh, and I guess this is another cult of weirdos that abducted me. and I bobbied my way out of it by being fucking weird and saying a bunch of crazy shit. Um, Whoever the guy was like, basically stay away from these people. And then later he was like, can you destroy these people with your energy vampire powers? And I don't know, once again, I was a little kid, I had no idea what I was talking about. Um, I'm gonna try to meditate on this to see if I can figure something else out, but this kind of makes more sense than a bunch of Buddhists abducting me and driving me around Florida for no reason. Um, and I remembered I told Anal Eaton Mummy God this story about the van and the guys, and then he told me, well, they know every human trafficking ring, and if I was being human trafficked by any church, he could contact them. And if there was any group, and I told him, well, then you don't know everybody. If these people were um, kidnapping me when I was a kid, and they drove off with me. And this was when I was thinking it was the Buddhist, and he told me it wasn't the Buddhist, that I needed to try harder. And I guess this is what trying harder looks like, because this is what I remember now. I kind of wish I could have told him this, because I feel like this stuff was kind of important. Um, I don't know why I thought I was a World War II fighter pilot uh, when I was a kid. I was just a really weird kid. Um, And this is kind of like that shit when he kept asking me about the Oats people, if I'd ever met them, and I told him I'd never fucking met them, and it turns out I did. I wasn't lying, but I now remember even talking to Jasmine when I was out there in the desert, and they kept telling me there was no cancer girl in my elementary school. I needed to stop lying, and I was like, I'm not lying. This is the no. They altered my mind about that subject. Um, and this is kind of the same thing. I guess these people somehow using their LSD figured out how to do what these other people did with LSD. You know, this does explain the weird thing I kept saying to my cuddle buddy in middle school through high school. And I kept telling her, don't ever give me LSD. Like, I was like, I'll never do LSD. And I had like some kind of a phobia of it. And it makes sense. Somebody gets you high on LSD and they kidnap you. Of course, you're going to be terrified to do LSD. I was traumatized. And I never understood why. Like, even when I was in elementary school, I used to draw the sun. I used to draw the sun in the top of my journals. I would even scribble it all over the pages. And I remember the teacher told me it looked like some type of figure or something. I don't know. And I was high with those guys for a while too, because I remember laying in the van and looking up at like the ceiling of the van and like going to some lady's house at one point. Like, I don't know. I don't know how long I was gone for, if it was more or less than 24 hours. I remember my mom was really mad at me, which is what you're going to remember when you were a kid. Um, and the girl literally was like, because my mom told him, I'm not giving you any money for bringing him back. And she said that I told them that I would get that they would get money if I brought him back, and if she didn't give him money, something bad would happen to me. And this was super bizarre because my mother went and gave them like $100 for bringing me back home, and then they left. Um, but this feeds into two other weird memories that are completely fake ones, and I don't even know how I didn't know they were fake. Because on the left side of my house was Michelle's house, on the right side was John's house. And I, for some reason, remembered somebody that used to live beside us that used to make penicillin out of bread and honey on their back porch, and they died on the back porch making penicillin. And I remember seeing their feet hanging out, and then the coroner coming to get them. And that was followed by this guy that lived in the back left corner of our house. He tried to trade me an inflatable hammer and ball for my puppy Chewbacca, who grew into a dog and then later died in Georgia. Um, and I refused to trade that. And then I remembered I had a memory of him jumping out of the mango tree in our backyard, and him getting his arms and legs ripped off as he fell down the tree. It's an extremely gory memory, but it's not real. It's completely fake. Um, and I don't know why that's in there. I don't know if that's a placeholder for something that was covered up, or if something else happened. And I'm probably going to remember that too. Because there's all types of motherfuckers, apparently, that just go around fucking with people's minds, spraying them in the face with LSD and have you confessing you're a fucking energy vampire. And even when I took that guy's hatred and his rage and his anger, like, dude, I did a little ceremony, and these idiots played along with me. They did. They played along with everything I did. They abducted a kid, got him high on LSD, and then played along with everything he did. Okay? This is not mentally healthy for anybody. You should never be letting a little kid fantasize about being an energy vampire. And then explaining if I steal enough energy, I can do incredibly impossible shit. I mean, I did do incredibly impossible shit, but I told the guy that he simply didn't have enough hatred or rage or anger to destroy the church. Yeah. And I told him it was going to take me a couple years. What the fuck? Oh, man. The true reason I like fat chicks is because they have excess energy, and because I'm constantly draining energy from other people. They're the only ones that can survive because they have excess energy they don't need. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Don't ever say that to anybody. That was a joke. Yeah. I don't know why this LSD they got me on caused like an orange beam of light, or why I remember staring at that sun and watching it amalgamate into different forms and different shapes. And whoever was in the van led me through some type of guided drug trip and was asking me what I saw in the sun. And I remember they literally had a journal and was writing down what I was saying as I was saying it. And that's when that dude was like, stay away from that. Like, he was like really weird and neurotic, like every member of this church. And dude, it was super bizarre. It was super bizarre. And they had a big thing, and the guy was like, when he hypnotized me, he's like, you're not going to remember this. I remember. And basically don't ever tell anybody about this, because we'll kill you, just like Stu. I'll kill you. I'm like, great, wonderful, everything's I guess with cults, everything's under the threat of fucking death, even if you're a fucking like 2-year-old. I was like 3 or 4. I had to have been like 3 or 4, because I remember even the van was so high up, I struggled to get into it. Yeah. Dear God. I want to find out I was abducted by every goddamn religion on the planet at some point.